This video is going to be about my powered up mod for the 10183 Hobby Trains Crocodile locomotive. This all started when it was being discussed in our Discord server, most notably by Brennan Huff. After hearing the set discussed on the AFoOL Podcast, he has embarked on the amazing or insane goal to create all 30 official builds of the set at once. Yes, 30. This was a LEGO factory set, and all of the builds are by LEGO fans. The crocodile is the main build and included printed instructions, while the rest of the builds were all digital. I will link some videos below with more information about the set. It's a fascinating story. Brennan's goal is actually much larger, planning to collect every LEGO train made since 1980. With the Hobby Train set, he didn't want to just stop at the main build and started collecting parts to build all of them, painstakingly making a spreadsheet of all the parts needed, which is no small feat. All told, the builds will take 8,525 pieces, 542 for the crocodile, and 7,983 for the alternate builds. For the parts he didn't have, he tried his best to place large orders to avoid spending too much on shipping from a large number of sellers. In the pictures and video he sent me, he still needs about 300 parts to source, mostly bogie plates, wheels, and buffers. I hope to give an update to this project later in the year, but understandably it will take some time. This is just one example of the many projects shared on our Discord I would like to share on this channel. I'm not sure what this will look like exactly, but definitely something I'm giving some thought to. In the meantime, feel free to join using the link at the bottom of the video's description. For myself, I can only have so many 9-volt trains. Track is very expensive, and I already have many 9-volt locomotives. I decided to attempt a powered-up conversion using 2 motors. I built the model in Studio, as well as a physical prototype using pieces I had on hand. It wasn't pretty, but I wanted a proof of concept. When this went well, I started building the model again in Studio, creating steps along the way so I could share instructions for the powered-up mod. This was a very tedious process. Every time I would swap a single part for another, I would have to make adjustments to the steps of the instructions. There is an option to lock the page, but it doesn't really seem to work most of the time. I would guess I spent about 16 hours on the project, along with several days of rendering animations. This will be shared on Rebrickable, and I hope many of you will find it useful. From here, we will talk about the build itself, many of the changes I made, and how to make your own. Okay, so this is the completed model. I think it looks quite good. I tried to stay as true to the original model as I could, but did take some artistic liberties here and there. This door rail is red on the top and bottom in the set, but I decided to put black on the bottom. I wanted to keep these lines clean. So you've got kind of the base here is black all the way through. The roof is black all the way through, and then you've got the red here. I think that looks a lot better. Remember when in the original set they were very much limited by the part selection. These roof or hood pieces here were dark bluish gray. I went with black. I think that looks a lot cleaner, and it actually performs very well. I created a test layout using some flex track crossings, my double crossover. I tried to really give it a good test and put it through its paces and make sure it wasn't going to derail like crazy. And it actually performed great. The only derailments I had was with no cars on it and just blasting through the double crossover, which would derail just about any locomotive. So I'm not going to hold that against it. I think it looks great going around the layout. I think what I really like about it is just the sheer number of wheels. I'm a very simple person. It just looks really cool going around the layout. The only parts that aren't 100% accurate to the instructions here, my instructions, it's this double bar piece here, this 1x1 modified plate. It's supposed to be black. I didn't realize those are kind of hard to find, but I do have some on order, but they weren't available in the stores I went to. You can also use the 1x2 with bars on both sides. You can actually use many pieces. Originally, this was a droid part with bars on both sides. You could also use the ratchet joints through here and maybe some of the newer pieces for the actual electrical contacts up top. There are many options. This just kind of made the most sense for me. And I did make a change here. Originally, this was a 1x2, or no, a 1x1 clip. And I went with the 1x2, and that gives it a lot more strength, and it doesn't, if you use the 1x1, it tends to just rotate around all over the place. I also did this in a few other areas. So we can take off this front section here. You've got these 1x2 grill pieces mounted here. And originally it was just a 1x1, and this grill piece could just kind of rotate and basically just fall off. It's not really held. These don't have great clutch power to begin with. But with the 1x2, it's much more sturdy. Same thing for this piece here. Depending on the age of these tiles, it might just rotate and or just not even stay on a 1x1 at all. But with the 1x2, it works great and stays in place. Through this section here, I did make a few changes. It's built a little more sturdy inside here. Instead of using like 3 1x2 bricks throughout here, I used a 2x2 brick. So that's why I went ahead and did the full instructions to make a very simple parts list for how to build this in an efficient way. Again, they used very limited parts to put it together in the beginning. I believe this was designed by Holger Mathis. So those were the main improvements I made to try to make it a more efficient build. This is one you probably do want to use the black bogey plates on. They are expensive. You'll need one for each end. But I had a few. I didn't want to use yellow because it's just a bit more visible here. If it's under an actual train base plate, you can't see the yellow as much. But in this case, it was definitely noticeable. Actually, I'll keep this off. Let's go ahead and look at the bottom of the center unit here. So again, I'm using dual powered up motors to give it a little more power and traction, and it does better in both directions. So you've got the center piece here, and I had to modify it to be able to get the wires through the middle. You can actually see there it's offset by by half a stud, and I did call that out in the instructions, try to make that obvious. So the placement of these wires is very important. You don't want it to bind or make it where these don't want to rotate very well. These are only held on by 4 studs. So if we pop this off, it is a 2x4 plate. If you stack another plate on top of it, this pin will not rotate very well because it creates a lot of friction from this top part here. So what I did is used a 2x2 anti-tile, whatever you want to call this. It's an upside down tile with studs on the other side, and that keeps this wire from getting caught on the bigger tubes here, which it will absolutely do. It will get caught, and it will cause derailments and problems. So this turned out to be the best solution, because originally this was a 2x8 plate and went from here to here, but this seems to work okay, and they stay on fairly well once it's all together. So let's get this back on here, and it fits right between them and doesn't interfere with the motors. So the other important sections here, you've got the pantographs on both sides. Those are removable, just like the original. But I did use 1 stud on each side to keep them in place. Originally they were just on tiles and just kind of sat in there, but I wanted something to hold them, but I didn't want too much. So these come off nice and easy. And then you have the center roof section here, and there's actually a captive button in there. So that's what this cutout enables. So this is the button, and it just pushes down on the green button there. But again, all this is removable. You can take this out, replace your batteries, whatever you need to do. It's probably a little bit of a pain to get it out, but this is really the best I could do. So these 1x4 tiles / plates, I don't know what you call them. You could put 3 in a row, but the problem is once you have 2 studs on each side and you pull these up, it tends to pull these up with it. It's just kind of a pain. I think this is the perfect amount of clutch power to hold them in place and make them easily removable. That was something I tested quite a bit to get just right. So we can put it back together just like this, hold our button in place. There's also a clear panel there that I got from Pick-a-Brick, and that just kind of holds it in place. Whoops, I didn't mean to turn it on. So with it all together, I like this nice clean line here. This is different from the original set where they just used a 1x4 bar, and it was at a different height. And they also used red grill pieces up top, but I went light bluish gray to get it just a nice stripe on either side. I think that looks good. So let's put this back together. Let's see, let's rotate that. Okay, so I'm going to be using Pybricks to control this. So, okay, we're connected. And, oh, I went too far. But it runs really good with the Pybricks program. I've showed it many times before in my videos. I will link to one of those. It's something I really want to do a new tutorial on eventually. So that enables you to run the motors in opposite directions since they are mounted opposing each other. And it also gives you nice smooth acceleration, which just looks better. With the stock firmware, you could take your controller, turn it around like that, and then press the buttons together to control each motor. That is an option. For me, I tend to do kind of back and forth and shunting cars and grabbing cars. So I don't like having to press two buttons. But if you just have a simple layout and you just need to get it going and go, this is a perfectly valid solution. I have an entire video talking about dual motors, and that was something that came up in the comments, that this is a very simple solution for those that don't want to do any programming or anything like that. So that's pretty much it, talking about the build. I'll show a few more clips of it running around the layout, and that will close out the video. Be sure to join us in Discord. We have a lot of fun, and we build a lot of cool stuff, and help each other with projects, things like that. And a quick thanks to the channel members who help keep the lights on around here. And we'll see you guys in the next one. I built the Madio and Madio. I built the Madio. I built the Madio. God. I built the model in Studio